This is That Guy Jig Sports Podcast. I am him, JIG. Subscribe, rate, and review. Amazon, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. Check us out. And don't forget about the Instagram at That Guy Jig. But the NBA Finals are halfway set up. They're halfway set up. The Eastern Conference Finals finished. The Boston Celtics probably went on the easiest run to the finals I've seen. I don't really want to hear about the Denver Nuggets and their championship run last year after what I just witnessed. I witnessed Boston beat up on a team without Jimmy Butler. I watched them beat up on a team without Donovan Mitchell. I mean, we're talking about key players on key teams that were gone each and every step of the way. Now, I understand that they don't get to pick who they play. I understand that it's not their fault that the only other team in the East, the Milwaukee Bucks, had a healthy past this year because they decided to fire a coach while they were in the number one spot. I still don't understand it. And Adrian Griffin, when you write your tell-all, make sure you send me a copy. Because I want to know what happened and what you did. I want to know, how does a man get fired when he leads a team to the the first best record in the East? Because the guy he was supposed to be the Eastern Conference's head coach for All-Star Game. How does a guy do all of this and then get fired? I don't know, but I would love to know why. But at any rate, this isn't the Boston Celtics' fault. It's not the Celtics' fault that the Cleveland Cavaliers, once again, the lights are just too big. They're just too big. Listen, sometimes people just find their niche. They can train year-round. They can do everything they need to do. They can buy the best and they can do all this other shit. But when it comes down to it, sometimes it comes down to what's in that chest. If you got heart, do you have heart or do you not? Do you have that little thing ticking in there? Do you got something beating on? You know what I mean? It's something different, because that's how you get in these situations where you see teams like the Cleveland Cavaliers who have players that say the moment's too big for them. That is the only way the moment's too big for you, is if you're just not made for the moment. Everybody in the NBA across the board, I mean, yeah, they are all talented. They are all the best of the best, sir, with honors across the board. And then you have your superstars. When you start talking about the regular roster, though, the difference between the guys who make big shots, Robert Horry, Rick Fox, the difference between Ray Allen, Rajon Rondo always found the right guy. But Ray Allen hitting shots. Jason Terry, another guy. These are role players that the moment was not too big for them. And all these guys I just named, they hoisted up a trophy at the end of the line. They hoisted up a trophy because they understood when the moment came, when it was time to put hammer to nail, they were carpenters. They were indeed carpenters. And that's what the Cleveland Cavaliers do not have. They have Donovan Mitchell. They have Darius Garland, who's going to probably be gone somewhere. If Donovan Mitchell does not re-sign with the Cleveland Cavaliers, Darius Garland will be traded accordingly. The Cleveland Cavaliers will blow this team up accordingly because they have too much money on the books to do anything, to change anything, or to make anything like that happen. Because without Donovan Mitchell, you're not bringing anybody to Cleveland. Without Darius Garland, you're not bringing anybody to Cleveland. So with Donovan Mitchell leaves, which I believe he does, I think Cleveland blows it up. But once again, none of this is the Boston Celtics' fault. It's not the Boston Celtics' fault that Kristaps Porzingis, their biggest free agent signing this year, besides probably Drew Holiday, but Drew Holiday was also a trade. One of the biggest players they brought in this year, and Kristaps Porzingis, they have not needed him to play. He's going to be healthy. Like Tyrese Halliburton said, the healthier team usually wins. And he's right, because if the New York Knicks were healthy, the Indiana Pacers wouldn't even went to the Eastern Conference Finals. And yes, I'm still upset because I had the New York Knicks going all the way to the Eastern Conference Finals, and they were one game away. But they were really one injury away. They were really one OJ Anunoby away from being in the Eastern Conference Finals. But see, the thing is, now they have to go and get better, because now teams are going to go get better accordingly. The Boston Celtics beat up on the Pacers, as they should. They handled business. They took care of business and they handled business. Now they got some time. They got some time to wait And they're waiting on the winner of the Timberwolves and the Dallas Mavericks. Now, I had the Timberwolves at the beginning of the series. I'm not going to jump ship. I'm going to go down with the ship. The captain goes down with the ship. So I'm going to go down with the Minnesota Timberwolves. I do find it interesting that they won Game 4. They're going back home for Game 5 tonight. If they're able to get a good win tonight going back to Dallas, I do expect Dallas to win in Game 6. But this is going to be a very interesting game tonight because if Karl Anthony Towns can stay out of foul troubles, and this has been my biggest harp on the guy all year, you can't be a superstar and be fouling out of the games. I can't believe it. You can't do that. In a game where they don't even really want to call fouls on the superstars because they understand what's going on, the refs understand the agenda. How are you fouling out? How are you having to sit out? This game, Game 5, it comes down to Karl Anthony Towns and who else can come along. MJ's son is going to do what he does. Anthony Edwards is going to do what he does, and that's ball. Anthony Edwards has been balling all playoffs. I don't expect anything to really change. They're going to need him to do it all again. 1 assist shy of a triple-double last game. So I think I personally just think it's going to be intriguing. This is going to be a great matchup. I mean, at this point, no one's ever came back down 3-0. It would be very, very great to witness. I will be very happy. I mean, I'll be walking around pitching a tent because I have watched the first ever 3-0 comeback after being one. I mean, I was there for the 3-1 comeback for LeBron in Cleveland. I was there for that. So now seeing someone else come back down 3-0, I feel like I've lived a pretty good life. When it comes to sports, and especially the game of basketball, I think I've seen a few things. I think so. So this game for me just comes down to the simple. Now, Derek Lively didn't play last game, so the rebounding is going to be a big thing. It's going to be a very big thing. Can the Timberwolves continue to impose their will? I would love for the love of the money. I would love to see Karl Anthony Towns post up, but listen, some things we just never will see. Once again, I just don't understand how a 7-footer doesn't post up. But I'm from a different era. He calls himself the greatest shooter of all time, so I guess he's going to be shooting the motherfucker, huh? Rudy Gobert has to have a good game tonight. We need Rudy. I need Rudy to have 10 points tonight. 10 points, 10 rebounds. Needs a double-double. He just needs to be a big, big effective guy. You know, unfortunately, with the two guys that they have on the other side, the defensive player of the year is not going to be defensive player of the year too much. Unfortunately, with how the Dallas Mavericks operate, Rudy Gobert is not really, there's not too much he can do defensively. Because if he is in a switch with Kyrie or Luka, well, we saw with the game winner from Luka what's going to happen. We know at Kyrie what's going to happen. That's barbecue chicken on a skewer. So that way it's mobile. Honestly, when Kyrie is guarded by Rudy Gobert, I like a BFB. A big fucking beer. Because I like to sit there and chug and watch the show. And watch the show. Rudy Gobert has to be big offensively. It's not defense. Listen. The defensive thing is one thing because as you get further along in the playoffs, he can't be played. He can't be played, especially in today's now, and especially with how the game is played nowadays. Now, next series, if they do make it to the finals, he's going to be on Kristaps Porzingis. Kristaps Porzingis plays on the perimeter. So Rudy Gobert is not going to be in the post. It's going to be a very interesting thing. Now, we know they're probably not going to be there. But I'm just giving you situationals here. The Dallas Mavericks are putting them in a very tough bind. Jaden McDaniels is trying his best. He's trying his damnedest. But at the end of the day, Luka Doncic is pretty good at the game of basketball. He's been playing professional sports since he was 14. The guy has been doing it for a long time. He's a professional. That's why he carries himself the way he carries himself outside the court. Now, on the court, you can say what you want about him. He cries too much. He does this. He does that. I understand it. I get all the gripes. But at the end of the day, if I need a bucket, I know where the ball is going. It's going in 7-7's hands. We're going to see what old Luka can do. What can Luka do for you? Not to mention they got Kyrie. You know, Kyrie's now 13-1 in closeout games. So now we're going to see. I would like to see Kyrie come out more aggressive. I would like to see him come out the same way he did. I think that was game 2 or game 1. Either way, well, both of those games, Kyrie had high point totals in the first half. I know he likes to do this thing where he sets the pace, sets the tone, and figures it out, and then comes out and kills second half. But at the end of the day, this is a closeout game, and at the end, the longer the Dallas Mavericks play, the worse off for Luka Doncic's health. Luka needs this series to be over tonight. Luka needs to go ahead and get this over with so he can get rested for Boston. Because Boston is sitting and waiting. Jaylen Brown, Eastern Conference Finals MVP. He's sitting and waiting. Jason Tatum is sitting and waiting. The Boston Celtics are sitting and waiting. They get to look at you, they get to analyze you, and then they get to play you. Meanwhile, the Dallas Mavericks have got to close the door on the Minnesota Timberwolves. If this series goes back to Dallas, which I expect Dallas to win in Dallas if it does go back, that's something you don't want to play with. This is fire you don't want to play with. You need to go ahead, season the meat, put it on the grill, take it off, and eat it, and shit it out before this meat starts to spoil. You don't want your meat to spoil. A good steak that's spoiled, man, that's like wiping before you poop or like, wiping your ass with shit. Whichever one you want to use, just remember where you got it from. And this is That Guy Jig Sports Podcast. I am him, JIG. Subscribe, grade, and review. Tell a friend to tell a friend. That way we can all be friends. When it comes down to this series, though, I do expect Dallas to finish it out in one of these next 2 games. And one of these next two games, I expect the Dallas Mavericks to go in there and win this game. Now, let's talk some bread. Let's talk some money because your boy's been killing it. So I'm going to give a couple picks out. I would definitely go with Minnesota at home money line. I would take the Minnesota at home money line. I would take PJ Washington over 10 points. Over on 10 points. It's pretty good odds if you're on the FanDuel. If you're looking for the overs and unders at 209, last game they were short on the overs. I think they missed it by 4 points, but Kyrie had also an off shooting night. 209 to me is very low. I know people like to talk about defense in the playoffs, but 209 is very low to me. So I would definitely play. The overs personally. Karl Anthony Towns plus 20 points right now is at minus 135. So that's a pretty good little profit line right there. If you wanted to get with the pluses, Naz Reid for plus 250 for 15 points. That's always a good one if you just want to see if you can get a chub. You know what I mean? If you want to get a little fluff job. But if you want a killer, Kyrie Irving over 3.5 rebounds. Now listen, I know what you're listening. Kyrie Irving over 3.5 rebounds. I like it. I think it's a low number. We're basically looking for 1 rebound a game, folks. 1 rebound per quarter. We're not asking for much. In this series, he's had 4, 4, 6, and 4. So he's had over on that every game. So that's something you should look into. Kyrie Irving over on rebounds. And that's just some betting stuff for you, man. Anything else, you're on your own. I'll be posting on the Instagram like I've been doing. But I think the Timberwolves can get this game tonight. I think they get the game tonight. Hope I'm right. If not, I'll smoke my crow up and eat it. But once again, this is That Guy Jig Sports Podcast. I am him, JIG. Subscribe, rate, and review. Please subscribe and tell a friend to tell a friend. And follow the Instagram at That Guy Jig. Peace.